into the boxes and we did a multi-guest, and you got to ask questions and hang out on the screen. So if you have, this isn't for readings, remember. So if you have questions about mediumship, psychic development, oh, thank you so much, Susie, psychic development, the paranormal, anything that you would like me to discuss with you, please do me a favor, hit the guest button down below. And I really only have a couple rules. No vaping or smoking, no drinking alcohol, and no swearing. Other than that, come on, say hello. We'll have you come on. Thanks, Toddy B. And if you have questions you'd like to ask me, we'll put you right up on the screen and talk about it, okay? There we go. There's Kristen coming on up. And here's what's really neat for anybody who doesn't know. This is really funny. All of you who are watching might or might not get a kick out of this. So every week I have a meeting with someone from TikTok. I call my handler, like I'm an FBI suspect or something. Like somebody I have to talk to every week about stuff. And yesterday's meeting, I told him about how we're utilizing multi-guest, how we are utilizing all of the tools that they give us. And every week he has like slideshows, and like the last 4 times he's been coming on with us, with me to talk to me about like what TikTok expects, he goes back and looks at all of our stats and what we're doing. And he's like, you guys already do all of the things that we're trying to get everybody else to do. You're absolutely crushing it. And there's a lot of bragging rights that go along with that. Denise, I'm going to have you come on. Just quiet until I start asking questions. So for everybody who shows up here, for my moderators, my subscribers, for everybody who comes in here and shows all the love to us, thank you. Because I like telling my friends how many followers we have here on TikTok. It feels good. Number 2, we have it we beat the system so hard here on TikTok that the people at TikTok don't even know what to do with us, which makes me feel happy when they're like, well, we want to give you some pointers. And then they're like, can you give us some pointers? Like, what are you doing? How did you manage this? How are your numbers this way? I'm like, why don't you step into my office, TikTok? Let me teach you how to use your app, at least live. I don't know how to make good videos, but I know how to interact with you folks and keep you here and interested. And some of that is lots of interaction and lots of being good at following the rules. So that's important. All right, Kristen Spirit Sponge. This is our lovely moderator, Kristen Spirit Sponge.
Hello, everyone. Sorry.
What kind of question you got for us today there, pal?
So I mentioned it briefly in the live last week where it must have been like 2 or 3 in the morning. I know it was in the middle of the night. And I was laying in bed and I was struggling to fall asleep because for me, I can never seem to shut my brain off to finally just find that point of sleep. But it started with the top of my head tingling. But then my entire body started to vibrate and shake. And I was I was consciously trying to get my eyes to open. And it's like they were forced shut. And it was freaking me out a little bit because I wasn't sure exactly what was happening. And I know that I've been needing to work on my meditation more because clearly I do not do it daily. And I have a million excuses as to why I don't, but they're all lame excuses. So I just need to do them. But I was just curious to see, I know we touched briefly on it. You had mentioned something, but I didn't wanted to know if you could go into it further.
Okay. So what it sounds like is happening is the tingle at the top of your scalp is usually your crown chakra opening, right? It's nice and purple. It opens up. And it sounds like your whole chakra system kind of just got woke up while you were trying to go to sleep. Literally, for everybody just to know this, falling asleep is meditation. The key is for what we want to do is staying awake instead of falling asleep, keeping our brain active while our body goes into complete shutdown. And we can take the 3D reality away and explore spiritually, mentally, that side of the world that we can't physically get into because we're here. So it sounds like you kind of were having a really difficult time getting to sleep. You had a lot of energy, right? And then all of a sudden, your crown chakra opens. And then down here, your sacral chakra, which is a part of that psychic powerhouse, it was powered up. It had energy in it. And you got all this energy that came straight down. It hits this, and then all of a sudden, everything else gets activated. And naturally, your body knows what to do. It's ready to receive messages. It can be very overwhelming and overloading if you're not grounded properly. So that's probably what happened. As for not being able to open your eyes, I would say that was a little bit psychosomatic. Like, you knew that you were supposed to keep your eyes closed to keep the experience moving, and you didn't want to lose it. And you were less afraid than you were more afraid. So you probably were like, okay, I really want to open my eyes because I'm kind of freaked out, but also this is what I've been looking for. So the bravery button got hit and you stayed with it. When you had that happen, did you experience anything, any voices, any images?
I did. So it sounded almost like what it normally sounds like, because it doesn't happen all the time. It does happen often. And typically for me, I'm always a night owl. Like, I go to bed really late at night. So if I'm finally crawling into bed at like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's around like, it'll take me about a half an hour, 45 minutes to kind of like settle down and like really be ready to sleep. There have been times where I've heard conversations taking place in other, like in my dining room and my living room are kind of like connected in my apartment. So my bedroom's straight back. So I'll be laying in bed and I can hear the voices. They're not like someone's physically in my apartment, but because as far as like the noise level, but it always seems like it's multiple people talking at once and talking over one another. So that's what I heard the other night. And like, all I could distinguish was a female voice. Like it sounded like about 6 people like conversating at the same time, but all I could make out was a female voice. And when I tried to focus on what she was saying, it kind of just faded away.
Okay. So that's pretty common. And it's, thanks to Toddy B sending out all those subscriptions. High five, buddy. Thank you. So when you are getting that stuff to happen, you have to keep, it's a really weird thing. It's like, it's like chasing a dream almost. You have to become more centered and focused. And I can't teach that part of it. That's up to you.
Yeah.
But when you were actively trying to hear that voice a little bit better and it kept like disappearing on you, and then that's what you have to keep doing and keep practicing it. And it's like a tuner in a rate. So basically, like, everybody here, I'm sure, remembers when you were driving through the world in your car, you had your AM, FM radio on, and your favorite station kept coming in and out. Interfere, thanks so much for sending out 5 subscriptions. And you're driving through, and it's like the radio keeps cutting out, and you got to turn the dial a little bit just to keep picking it up. And then it can get frustrating, right? And it's sort of like that. But eventually, your radio is going to get really good at picking that stuff up. And you're going to start hearing it more and more. And it's going to be, what you want to do is, and this is important for everybody, when you're doing that, don't only focus on what your clairaudience is picking up, that part of it. How are you feeling? Because sometimes the feeling is the anchor into it. So when you see me up here doing readings, a lot of time I've trained basically they all know what to do by now. Like, they watch me like you. They know how we run our program, and they want to get their spot in line so that they can get their message across. But sometimes I don't see them as well as I'd like to, but I can feel like I was unalived. And that's a really powerful feeling. Like, I feel like every cell in my body stops and I feel like I'm actually dead. It's weird, but it only happens when somebody's unalived. And that's how they'll get my attention, because I'll feel everything in my body stop.
Right.
Weird. Right. And then I can hear them. It's a real crazy experience.
Yeah. Because I remember from one of your classes where, and I would tell them, I'm like, okay, guys, I'm like, one at a time, please. Like I need you guys, like, just one at a time, like, take a step back, because I tried to imagine like a tangled ball of yarn, and they're all each attached to one string, but they're all tangled in the middle. So like asking them to like take a step back so I can like hear them clearly to figure out, first of all, who it is, because as far as I know, my apartment's not haunted.
No, but we are. So haunted is a strong word, but they know we're trying to listen or trying to figure it out and try to hear them. So the more you try to put your antenna up and listen, the better it's going to get. It's a two-way street. It's about you pushing your energy this way and them coming this way and meeting us in the middle so that we can talk. But that is just practice. And I'll tell you this, wear more red. I see you always in purple, more red.
I don't own anything that's really red. That's
to get a pair of red sneakers or like red Converse or red bracelet, something.
Okay.
All right.
I'll keep that in
this. When I feel ungrounded, I put on my red bracelet. It's no joke. I wear it even at work. Guys make fun of me. I don't care. If I'm feeling like spinning, it reminds me, ground, stay focused, and pay attention. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Stay on the screen with me. Denise, you're up. Hi, Denise.
Hi. So how are y'all doing? This is
Good.
me again. I was here last week and you told me to meditate and it was wonderful. I didn't know how to meditate. I just went and it was unreal. I just started seeing images like right away. And I was like, okay, I'm making this up. I'm doing this with my mind. But the room was completely dark. And I saw so much stuff that I'm almost starting to get addicted to it. Like, and I felt safe. I did not feel scared. I felt calm. I felt really nice. And I saw like, it seemed like somebody was holding a flashlight above my head. And I could like, when I was looking up, it looked like, if somebody turned on a lamp and you were looking around, it was like a flashlight.
That's what I took. Who heard me use the flashlight analogy? That's exactly how I talk about it.
Oh, yeah. And I saw like a person from the 1800s, like with her umbrella and a bonnet. And I saw like I was in a war, standing in a line with a bunch of war guys. And it scared me and my heart dropped. And I got up and I was like, oh, it woke me up because my heart like dropped. And then I saw like a dragon, a white dragon with wings. It was just crazy.
So you went on like a ride.
I went on a ride and I do it. I see all kinds of colors. It's ridiculous. I seen a hippie lady. It's just been, I'm rambling now, but I just saw so much stuff like every day that, it's addiction, and I'm afraid that I like it so much that I'm going to be meditating all the time. That's what I worry about. That's like, maybe I shouldn't meditate, be addicted this much to it, but it was just so amazing what I was seeing, and I could not believe it. It's like my dreams. I told you I have vivid dreams at night. It's like my dreams were actually, it came out better than I thought it would.
Yeah, that's what we talked about, right? And now what's the purpose, right? So, anybody who learns how to drive a car, what's the point of driving a car? Well, you either do it for fun, or you do it to get someplace, or you become an expert at it and become a race car driver. Those are the reasons why we drive cars. So meditation, we learn to meditate so that we can accomplish something in life. So if you feel like you want to use it for personal reasons and just go for pleasure cruises and just see what expansive, interesting stuff you can come up with, that's one thing. Perhaps with your friends and family, you might want to sit down and see if there's anybody who wants to come through for them to talk, and you can practice your ability to use mediumship, perhaps.
Well, I did like the third time I did it. I said, okay, since I'm seeing all this stuff, I'm like, okay, I want them to know I'm a safe spot. I'm a positive person. I don't bring negative. And if you're willing to accept, I'm willing to see and just tell me your story. That's all I said. And it it's crazy how much stuff I've seen. I can't even get through it to tell you everything. I think that was the best advice I've ever gotten, and I have never thought about meditation. Never. And
anybody who's been here with me for any length of time, somebody's like, "How do you do this?" I'm like, meditation is the key to all of this. You just have to be patient with yourself. And it sounds like you are, like me, kind of very naturally inclined to be able to meditate, but now pointing the flashlight in the right direction for the right reason is going to be your next focus. So as you move forward in your journey, sit with friends and family who are accepting of what you may be able to do, and tell them, be like, I would just love to sit with you and be quiet for a few minutes. And I'm just going to give you details of whatever comes to my mind. And don't tell me anything until I'm done, right? Just like you see me do on the lives. And just write down all the information. It doesn't matter how you feel, what you see, what you hear, everything. And just write it down. And then ask them.
I don't hear anything. There's no hearing at all. It's just...
You will.
Yeah.
It'll come.
And I don't know if that would scare me or not.
It's not. It is. I try to tell everybody, it's not hearing with your ears. That's very rare. It's a thought that will come in, and they'll do it. You'll know, because you're going to be like, I don't speak this way. This isn't my accent. This isn't my inner voice. This sounds like someone else. And it is. I told everybody, I say it all the time. The first time it happened to me was by accident. I didn't go looking for it. And I thought I was having a nervous breakdown. I thought I was hearing voices, and I thought that I was going to have to go to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, it was very, very intense. So it is intense. What you're experiencing is intense, but it sounds like you're more intrigued, which is good, because going into it without fear is the most important part of it. Once you're afraid, then it kind of shuts everything off, because you won't want to hear it. You won't want to see it. Just like I was telling Kristen, she got it and she was trying to hold on to it, and her want to understand was greater than her fear to back off. That's really important.
Yeah. So the whole time I was welcoming, I loved the whole experience. I love it all the way through. I love all the colors. I mean, there's so much light that's there that it's unreal. A lot of light. But then, all the different colors, purple and stuff like that. And I think what scared me the most was the war one. It was the guys were all standing there, and it was like I was one of the guys standing there, and my heart sunk, and that got me out of it. So
you could have possibly been in, like Kristen has experienced that when she speaks with her grandfather, but you may also be experiencing a past life when you see that. If it switches from looking at something and experiencing it like we do in life to you're inside of someone else and you're looking at hands and maybe a weapon or some other things, that sometimes is past life. So that might be something that you need to explore in order to get over some traumas in this life. And that's part of Akashic record reading. That's a whole other ball game.
That's amazing. So I was a dude. So you're saying I was a dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Listen, I've not always been a man. That's for sure. I've seen myself as a woman. Some attractive, some not.
That's funny, but it was amazing, and I appreciate it so much, because I've been like this forever, and I'm like, I'm 40 something, and I'm just now realizing meditation. I'm like, oh.
And it's not as scary as people think. You don't have to sit in your yoga pants on the beach and to the gods. You can just do it in your room. It's easy.
Oh yeah, it's super easy.
Denise, thank you so much for being so positive. I appreciate it. And thanks for letting us know about your development. Listen, every week you can let me know about your updates. I love to hear it, because it not only encourages me to keep doing what I'm doing, but everybody who's listening also will be more encouraged, because they see that this is a possible thing for everyone.
I know. It is very possible. I am like the most far out person who would never think of meditation at all. And people do it, and I'm like, man, that's boring. But I said, no, I'm going to listen. I'm going to do it.
You see something. Yep.
And that's a blessing. And thank you for that blessing.
You're very welcome. Thanks for being here with us. I appreciate you.
If my dogs start barking, you can mute me, because I don't know how to mute.
I don't either. So we'll just let him be good. Wanty's up. What's up, Wanty? Monty, are you there? There he is.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Hey, this is Monty, everybody.
I usually hide in the background.
Make sure you're following everybody, by the way. Follow each other. What's up, dude?
Not much. So this is a question from one of your subscribers. It's Itty Bitty Amanda. She wanted to ask a question, and the question was, when people say that they're experiencing deja vu, is it actually reliving or experiencing some type of past life?
It's a loaded question because I think differently than most people, most spiritual practitioners. I think differently. I think that deja vu, quite honestly, is just like a brain hiccup. I think it's a signal that gets sent to our brain twice. And really, we've experienced our brain. And listen, I'm not a scientist or a doctor, but our brain processes insane amounts of energy, so much information so quickly that every once in a while, I think there's a hiccup in it and we experience something and then our brain reprocesses it. And it could be the most mundane things like putting on your pair of socks. And you could be like, boy, I feel like I've put these socks on exactly like this once before. And it's just because your brain, I think, double processes something. And that's just my opinion. That's not a fact. I just don't. I think that when we experience things from past life, like Denise was talking about, possibly, I think you should look more towards your habits that like you are unique to, that like your parents may not have had, or you weren't taught, things that you've really were naturally easy to pick up. So, for instance, to look towards past life, what's the word? Influencing this life. I've said like, I think ADHD is a little bit of that. For instance, being really creative was something that I've always been really a part of my life, playing guitar, doing drawing, poetry, like anything creative, or like working on cars. There's no reason why I was so good at understanding the mechanics of a car. I didn't take shop. I just kind of understand them. And I think because in past lives, this was a part of who I was, just like playing guitar, a musical instrument or something, or being creative and artistic. But I also think it weighs the other way as well. And part of the reason why I think that I was so drawn to being in the military and being a law enforcement officer is because I think I did them before and I may not have done them as well as I wanted to. So in this lifetime, they were like kind of coded in me and I had to do them and accomplish them and make that a part of this life and do them well. So I feel like I'm accomplishing that now. And for anybody out there who's in the same boat or like this boat, unfortunately, you feel your calling and it's something you can't make money doing. So you can't do it because you have to do your job and there's not enough time to do the thing that you really love to do. That's part of I think part of like that soul blueprint that's still with you from your last life, and appease that, even if it doesn't make you money. I suck at playing, like I'm good at playing guitar, but I suck comparatively to people who really know how to play, but it makes me happy to pick it up and strum and be silly and make my own little songs and things like that. It makes my soul happy, but it doesn't do anything financially for me and nobody cares. So it makes me happy. Or when I do art, no one cares but me. I like it. It makes me happy. Or when I create something, it makes me happy, but nobody else cares. It's just for me. So I think that's more along the lines of your past life and not really deja vu. Deja vu, again, I think is just kind of like a hiccup. Oh, thanks, Rachel. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think that a lot of you do care about some of the stuff I'm doing here. It's interesting to me that I feel like I'm a very natural performer, which I think is a part of a past life. I kind of always knew that I wanted to be a performer, and here we are. You guys gave me the opportunity to be not only a performer, but spread good word. So that's my long-winded answer on that. Oh, thanks for a kick. So, got any other questions for me there, big guy?
Sure, I can ask the one we were talking about earlier. What's the spiritual meaning of seeing fireflies?
Yeah, so I thought that that was a really interesting question. Why don't you tell everybody what happened, and then I'll talk about it.
Sure. So I was chatting with my wife and one of my sons, and my wife was she's a third grade teacher, and she was in her classroom today giving everybody a history of what 9/11 is. And part of it was talking about the remembrance and honoring of all of the people who lost their lives during that. And I have a piece of the World Trade Center steel that was gifted to me. And so she wanted to bring it with her and show the kids if that was okay. And as she was asking this question, all I could see was fireflies. And I'm looking through these fireflies at my wife, one of my sons, and I'm like, this is really weird. Like, I'm inside, there's no fireflies in the house. And so it kind of got me thinking as to, what the spiritual significance of that was.
I know you sent one, and it was about refresh my, because I have my own opinion of what that might mean. So why don't you read what you found, what that means, and then I'll tell you before you sent it, what my take on it was.
So what I found for was, and I'm going to read it. So I'm looking off the side here. Fireflies represent self-illumination, attraction, positivity, simplicity, and self-awareness. Seeing a firefly could be a sign to stay grounded and show appreciation for the little things in life. And fireflies symbolize love, passion, seasonal change, and departed souls.
So, to me, when you said that, it felt like a bit of magic kind of entered your life. There was something that was based on something tragic, but there's an ability to pass that light on, that information, to another generation of people who are only experiencing these things through us talking about it. Maybe they get a little bit of media about it. Certainly, I'm sure it's in history books by now. That piece of metal brings the story to life, and it carries a piece of those people who passed that day. It carries forward every time we tell the story, especially if we have a piece of it that we can present to a new generation and show them like this came from somewhere very special. And I think that the fireflies sort of represented that bit of magic that is left there, and the positivity of the story moving forward. And hey, the slogan, never forget. It's more than that. It means something. So it's really special to be able to do that. And I think that I'm sure that you said yes to your wife that it's okay to bring that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think that's what that's about. Truly, I mean, I've never experienced that, but I think that like when I read it, I was like, it sounds like he's experiencing true magic, which I thought was really amazing. Denise, thanks for the book.
You're welcome.
So that's
Sorry,
awesome.
I'm super excited.
Thank you.
I love all these stories.
Yeah. So do I. And I really love everybody who's, even if you didn't have, it's okay if you didn't want to come on and tell it. I love the bravery of asking the questions. Remember, I always tell you guys that bravery isn't something that you have. It's something you possess. It's like a sword. You can hold it for a little while, and you don't always have to be brave. But there are moments when you can pick that bravery sword up and go at it. So congratulations on doing that. It's important.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for being here.
You have another question if you have nobody else that wants to come live.
Go ahead. What is it?
So you have a question from, and I apologize if I butcher names, Sarcasmatron. And Sarcasmatron says, are people with aphantasia more prone to sensing spirit in the non-traditional ways, such as audio, scent, or emotional connections?
I would say yes. If anybody doesn't know what aphantasia is, it is when you...
Be quiet because I'm going on this thing, okay? Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good, Michelle. You didn't know I accepted your invite. So aphantasia, for anybody who doesn't know, is when you close your eyes and it's just black. So when I tell you to picture an apple, you can't see it. So I've said this before, and it's good to keep going over it because that's the point of this, to help you all build confidence to get to a level of this, my level, or hey, maybe better. When a person in life loses an ability like sight, they say that their hearing gets better, the other senses get better to help them go through life. So I think very heavily that people who have aphantasia, the inability to see when they close their eyes, have a better sense maybe when it comes to clear essence or clear cognizance, knowing and feeling. Perhaps their clear audience is better, that inner thought and dialogue. Those are the three that traditionally will pick up. So if you don't see things, don't sweat it, because a spirit can simply just walk up to you and be like, hey, my name's Joe. I was a train engineer, but I didn't look like one. I was really skinny and I had really thin arms and a weird tattoo on my arm. I know you can't see it, but pretend like you're talking on the phone with them, right? Like, hey, what did you look like? Okay, hold on. I'm gonna say that. This is Joe, and then just go over it, and then see what you're feeling. Because I've never had a heart attack, but spiritually, I've probably had thousands, and I could feel the pain in my chest. Or I've never had a stroke, but I can feel part of my body getting weak. I've never had Alzheimer's, but I can feel myself slipping away for a moment. I've never had Parkinson's, but I can feel my hand shake. I've never had cancer, but I can feel it in certain parts of my body when people have it different ways. So don't underestimate the things that you're feeling. And remember, you all see me do this. I do this live a lot. I'll say, I've never seen 7 rubber ducks lined up in a row, but I'm seeing it now. What does that mean to you? That's me researching. So the next time I see a bunch of rubber ducks lined up, I don't have to ask the question anymore. It's a part of my psychic flashcard collection now. And I can be like, oh, it means that every day they had a duck for every week in the bathtub, or there'd be something close to it, and it would bring the evidence that we were speaking to somebody. So that's that. So don't worry about the aphantasia part of it. The rest of it will kick off. And then as you build up your psychic abilities, your flashcards are audio as well. Every time I hear a car beep and metal crash, I know that there was a car accident. I don't have to see it, I can hear it. So that's how that goes, okay?
Can I share something really quick, Scotty? This is Spartan Widow. Okay, so this isn't about psychic abilities, but it's a really amazing lesson. And when I grew up, my mom and I did not get along at all. We had a very difficult relationship. And 3 days after I lost my husband, she cashed a stock in to fly down to see me. She sat on my couch, held my hand, and apologized to me for everything that we went through when I was young. And in that moment, I could see that even in the midst of the darkest tragedy, beautiful things can happen too. So always be aware to grab the beautiful moments that you can, regardless of what's going on, because that was an incredibly powerful moment, even in a horrible, despair. And I just think that you always have to be aware of the gifts that life is going to give you, regardless of the circumstances. That's all.
I totally agree, and thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. That's very important. And it's beautiful that your mom was able to do that in life, instead of waiting for things to go bad and passing and then trying to pass that message through in a reading or something. So it's really beautiful that she was able to do that, and especially when you were feeling, I'm sure that one of your most down moments after losing your husband. So that's really beautiful.
We're still on a really good path. We have a great relationship. It was a huge turning point. So that's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Hey, Michelle.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry about that earlier. My son came in my room.
All good. What's up?
My thing is, I was listening to everybody else, and I grew up with my mom hearing things, seeing things, knowing things. And my dad was always skeptical and say, oh, your mama's crazy. Your mama's crazy. But the older that me and my youngest sister got, the more that it started with us. And at first I thought I was crazy. So I went to the doctor, I got medication, and then I realized I wasn't crazy. But with mine, it's not, I can't do it on command. It's if I'm in a group of people and I can feel somebody's energy, then like you said, I don't hear it with my ears. I hear it in my head. And it's somebody talking to me, and I can always distinguish man, woman. And they tell me, like we went to a restaurant a while back, And our waitress was so sweet, so hyper, and so nice. But there was this older lady in my head saying, that's my grandbaby, and she's struggling right now. Tell her it's okay. Tell her it's okay. And I don't know how to approach people like that, and I don't know how to turn it off. And like I said, it doesn't happen often. And like my sister had a Christmas party. She called me and said her son Steven's having friends over. She told me to act right because she knows sometimes that happens, and I just say it, and that's a little weird for people sometimes. So we were talking as I was getting ready, and I got really quiet, and she said, what's the matter? And I told her, well, there's this man saying, tell him I love him. And I told her I knew it wasn't for my nephew Steven because I know what his grandfather that passed sounds like. And she told me that one of the boys that was coming over's dad died from COVID.
Oh.
So my thing is it something that I'm just picking up from people's energy because it's like I can feel their emotions too? Or is this something that, like if you said, if I meditate or something, that I can start?
Better. So,
yeah.
If you never heard me say this, I say it pretty often. Every human being, for the most part, is an empath. We are biologically built to be able to feel other people. Without them speaking. It's really important, and you'd be surprised how much you pick up, and you could call it energy, you can call it spiritual, you can just call it part of science and biology. All of that's okay. When it switches from us being able to feel other people, and we go beyond empath or having empathy, and you start to hear the voice of someone else talking to you, that's part of mediumship. And it's okay if you can't switch it on and off. It very, very naturally happens for a lot of people. As a matter of fact, meditation will help that, because basically what happens is when you meditate, you're sending out a very clear signal to the other side, to those people, like, I'm going to receive you, I'm going to hear you, and I'm going to speak on your behalf. When you are doing it, when you're in a group and it kind of just spontaneously happens, it's because you're just naturally inclined to be able to do it. And I'm going to tell you this, none of us are the Long Island medium. None of us know how to break that ice properly and be like, hey, I don't know how to tell you this, but your grandmother is talking, your grandfather is talking to me.
Right.
It's difficult, and you don't have to do it in that moment. If you feel it as a super nagging feeling,
and that's how it was at the restaurant. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's how it was at the restaurant. And I finally told the waitress when she brought the check, because it felt like the lady was getting louder and louder the more I tried to ignore it. Mm-hmm. So then I told her, I said, I'm not sure if you believe this at all, or, and I go to proceed to tell her that her grandmother said she loved her and that she knows she's having a hard time and it's going to be okay. And then she started crying and said, yes. And said that one of her coworkers had told her about a week ago that her grandmother was trying to get in touch with her.
Yeah. So it's not, again, and this is important for people who are developing to know. It's not, and you hear me do this all the time, most people who come through don't have some grand message. Most of the time they're just really excited that somebody's listening, and they're going to let their family member know that they're doing well or okay, or they've passed over or crossed, or that they're watching to make sure that they're okay. That normally is enough for most people. So if something becomes really nagging and you possess the bravery sword and you just go in there and just say it, like, what's the worst that's going to happen with a stranger?
Right.
That weirdo? Like, then you'll feel like your ego will be like hurt or whatever, and you'll be sad that they didn't want to listen. But when it comes to those nagging spirits, you can let them know, like, this isn't the time and the place, and I'm sorry I can't help you. You need to find somebody closer to this person that they'll be able to communicate with and not feel like they're going crazy. But if you're in a group of friends, sometimes it'll happen to me. My friends, of course, know, so like they don't think I'm weird anymore. But like, even at work, sometimes I'll be like, hey, listen, I had a crazy dream about so-and-so. You have any idea like who this person is? And they'll be like, oh yeah, that sounds like you're talking about my grandmother. Yeah. And it'll be the same thing. Like, oh, I was just thinking about her, blah, blah, blah. It's always the kind of same thing. So, just know that it's happening. If you want to make it stronger and better, and be able to control it a little bit more, just like I told Denise, meditation is definitely the key to it. And meditation means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. but I'd just say if you can get yourself quiet for a little bit and search for that same nagging feeling in the quiet of your house, then you'll be able to understand what it is to be able to ask for it. And then when you're done, be able to shut it off. So when I sit here for my hour and I do the readings for you guys, I'm asking for it. I'm like, all right, come on, let's go. Let's get them done. And they listen and they give me all the information I need. And then when I'm done here, and typically when I go to work, I don't hear anything for the rest of the night because I know how to shut it off and I know what it's like when it's off. But that's something that takes practice and time.
Right.
So it's important to be able to do that. And then when you go to a party, if somebody's nagging you and you're not in the mood to hear from their grandmother, you can be like, hey, Betty, enough. And just shut the switch off. That's it. And you don't have to feel guilty for doing that. You are a living human being with your own time and your own things that you want to experience. And you don't always have to listen to the dead. And I can tell you that from experience. It's okay to be like, I don't feel guilty for making you be quiet because I'm here to have a good time at this party, not do your bidding. So it's okay.
Could I ask you one more question?
Sure.
Do you think that evil things try to communicate with you as well?
No.
Okay.
I know that's a fear for a lot of people. Demons and negative entities, they got better things to do than to wake up, put on their shoes and their jacket, come all the way to New Jersey, and talk to me about something I don't care about or I'm never going to listen to them about. So it's the same for most of us. There are times when it happens because you've called me into your home and there's really bad things happening and you can't put your finger on why. And then that's when I'm going in and I'm talking to whatever's there. And sometimes it's negative. Sometimes it showed up by accident. Sometimes somebody brought it. Sometimes it's existed there forever and you just happen to live in their space. So,
Okay.
but yeah, regular meditation, all you have to do is be like, I just want to talk to good people. Come on in. And they listen. They're not going to, no negative stuff's coming for you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Let's see who else we got.
Wait, I'm sorry. One quick one, and then it's just one word answer. If you talk, I don't talk out loud. I just talk in my head to them. Is that the same, or do you have to talk out loud?
Yeah, no, talk to them in your head. That's fine. I do it all the time.
Okay. Because everybody thinks I'm crazy, so I don't want my daughter and husband say, God, she's going off the deep end.
When
She is stopping herself again.
when you see me here on lives talking out loud, it's mostly because I don't want you all to think that I'm falling asleep on you. I speak out loud for the audience, but most of the communication is very internal and really so fast that I wouldn't be able to physically communicate most of what I was picking up anyway, because it's like this. And I have to be very decisive as to what information I'm going to bring forward and talk to everybody about, because it's like downloading somebody's entire life and then having to pick out the highlight reel and be like, all right, how am I going to take 80 years of this person's life? Oh, that's why we do exactly what I do every time. What do you look like? How did you pass? Tell me your name or an important name, and then give me like a little tidbits, a highlight of your life that will let your person know specifically that this is you. That's why we pick those 4 things. When we do the readings privately, it's very similar, but also there's so much more information that comes through. It's crazy. Like I can spend an entire hour on one person and just bring stuff out. And anybody here who's ever had a reading with me knows, like, it's just like, well, okay, all right, enough. Tell them about the crack that I had in my tile in 1978. It bothered me. You know, like this is stuff I've heard before, and I'm like, this is what you wanted to talk about? You're reaching through from the great beyond to talk about cracked tiles? There's got to be something better. You know?
That's funny.
It's true. It's true. So, I'll get to Lisa in 1 second. So, for everybody who wants to sit down and do a reading, just remember that if you're going to do a reading for someone, keep in mind that there's nothing too stupid to say, because some of the best readings I've ever had, I say some of the dumbest things that I can imagine, and they're like, I can't believe that you knew. How did you know that? How did you know that when I was 5 years old, I lost my shoes at the park It's because grandma was who I'm talking to was there with you, and she's telling me this funny story about when you washed your shoes. And that's just what they want to talk about. It's a beautiful memory for them. They laughed at it. They still laugh, and they have a good time thinking about it. Spot on after I had a second to process. Yeah, so we did a reading. She's like, I don't know, this might be this. And then later she was like, holy crap. After I thought about everything we talked about, is really right on. So it's important, and that's all that kind of stuff. Let's see. What's Lisa got? Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Scotty, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. So, just have a question. Something kind of creepy happened to me the other night. I was just trying to do some meditation, and out of nowhere, I just got like a really panicked feeling, and something in my head told me to call my friend and tell them to drive carefully. And so I got in touch with my friend, and it turned out that he had lost his wallet, and he was driving around like frantically, like blue or red light, like speeding like crazy, and actually hit a cat, which was crazy. And he was really freaking out, but I was on the phone with him, and like I calmed him down. I was like, he does DoorDash, so I was like, where were you recently, and asking questions, and I was like, I think you might have maybe left it at the last person you dropped it off. But he's like, no, it wasn't that long ago. But then he went to all the other stops and finally went to the stop that I was like, yeah, I think you should go to that one. And it was on the front lawn of the house that he went to that I said. And it came out of nowhere. And the only other time something like this has happened was with a different friend. I just all of a sudden felt like I couldn't breathe. And I just said, hey, are you feeling okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. And then the next day he came down with like bronchitis or like a chest cold or something like that. And then he's like, I'm having difficulty breathing. But the other night, I never heard like a thought in my head, like something telling me, check in with your friend, tell them to drive carefully. Like, I don't know why. Just randomly happened and what it is.
You didn't hear it or see it. You experienced it somewhere. Like, I always experience those things here in my chest. That is clear essence or clear cognizance. It's a clear knowing or clear understanding. And it's a very cool psychic power. So that's more on the psychic end of things because we're communicating with our loved ones via that internet that's built into us, that empathy internet. So it was really cool, and it sounds like maybe a guide chimed in and was like, hey, you need to tell this guy to slow down. He's being crazy. And no matter what you felt, you acted on it, which is the most important part, because there are so many times we hear stories about people who are like, I knew better. I knew, and I didn't do anything. And they kick themselves left and right. So a lost wallet's not the end of the world, but for some of us, I carry something really important in my pocket, in my wallet. So if that's gone, I wig out, right? So some of us, it's really important. Our license is in there. Maybe there's a special card that we keep from our mom in there or something,
It was a wallet that his dad had given him. So he was more upset about the wallet than what was in it.
Right.
But it was just, I wasn't, like I said, I was trying to meditate. My mind was completely clear. Then all of a sudden it was just like, something's like literally in my head said, tell him drive carefully. And I'm like, where did that come from? And I just literally felt the feeling I would feel if something like that happened. I just panicked, like going crazy. Where did I leave it? Where did I leave it? Yeah. And then I felt like tightness in my chest, and it didn't go away until I knew he was at home.
Yep.
Once he got home and he stopped driving, my chest cleared up, and I was like calm. And
yeah, that's about right.
And never happened like anything like that before.
Well, now that it's happened once, it's like open up a bag of Doritos. Once it's open, can't stop eating them. So now, when you get that feeling, pay attention, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and just be like, okay, universe, what are you trying to tell me? And then just feel it out and go with it and see what you get, because that's what it is. And I think that's pretty important to be able to do.
Not just the feeling. What do you think about like the fact that I heard in my head, like something telling me to say that?
Yeah, it's intuition. It could have been a spirit guide, could have been your higher self. We talk about that sometimes. Don't take for granted the fact that you're very intelligent and you're, what do we call it? Like our emotional intelligence sometimes is really high. and we're just tapped into certain things. Once, and listen, I'm not a mind reader by any scope at all. And believe it or not, I'm very bad at understand or knowing when my wife is in a good or a bad mood or whatever her mood is. I have no idea. But a couple years ago, we were driving somewhere and she seemed to be in a good mood. Hey, Sarah, thanks for sending out 5 subscriptions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you. We were driving somewhere and she seemed to be in a pretty good mood. And, every once in a while, I'd still be a little romantic. I put my hand down, I was holding her hand. And then all of a sudden, I felt lost. I felt like I didn't know where I was going, although I was on a highway I'm very familiar with. And I was holding her hand, and I looked at her, and I was just like, are you feeling sad or lost or something? And she just looked at me. She started tearing up, and she goes, I feel very lost. And we had a conversation about why that was. And it was a feeling I never felt before from another person. So it was really interesting that I picked that up, and I think that it was a little bit more than my intuition. I think somebody gave me that information, and the connection kind of helped. So don't be surprised that if you start picking more things up and you start paying attention more, that you'll hear it more, you might see it, and you'll definitely feel it. So that was really good.
Yeah, because I've told you that I'm still not seeing stuff the last time I came up here. So the fact that happened after last week kind of threw me.
So for anybody who's having trouble seeing things, I know that money can be a little tight, but there's an app called Luminate, and it's a really interesting app that taps into your phone's flashlight. And people who have aphantasia, I've recommended it to them, and it helps kickstart that ability to see. So
I don't have that. I don't see what other people see, like you see yet, like in my
right.
Yeah, but I don't have aphantasia. I can picture things you tell me to see, but.
All right. Good. Well, cool. I'm glad you did that. It sounds good that you helped your friend. I like that.
Yeah, and it felt good doing it.
Nice. Great job. So, what's it called? Luminate, it's called, for anybody who wants to know. It's Lumenate. And it's
Kristen's recommended that before.
Yeah. It's a good app. It's a little pricey, but it's good.
I think I pay like $6.99 a month. I think I do like the monthly.
In my opinion, that's a lot. But it works. If you're using it, I pay for it, so every once in a while I'll use it just to like kickstart. If things are looking a little dull, I use it and it like opens it back up. So
really quickly though, because it is 9/11, but and I was thinking back on this. So in 2019, I actually did not have plans to go into the Memorial Museum, just because of the fact that I know that I am an empath, and like I knew that eventually it was going to affect me. And so, but I wanted to take my daughter because she was 9 months old at the time. So started out, and like certain parts of the museum, I started picking up energy left and right. But it was, of course, it wasn't until I got into like the memorial room, and you're hearing the testimonies from the families talking about those who have passed and the towers and the planes and whatnot. And I was fine going in, like just walked briefly, just walked in, walked around, walked out. As soon as I left the room, like it was like a Mack truck, like everything I just started sobbing out of like nowhere. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it was just because I was subconsciously picking up on the energy that was in there, but it's kind of made me not want to go back, because mainly in fear of it happening again. To the point where the people that I was with were consoling me, and I didn't lose anyone in 9/11. I didn't know anyone that had passed in 9/11. So I wasn't sure what that was, or it was just. Yeah.
So it is. It could be obviously, all the emotions that come along with what happened, plus the scar that's left there, and the scars that are left on every piece of equipment and every scrap and every piece of the building. You feel that way. So it's important. And there's a lesson to be learned. If you go somewhere and you're not expecting that and you feel it, pay attention, because there might be something that you're tapping into, that you're supposed to follow the thread and understand what's going on in that space or with the person. So everything's a lesson. Whenever we get the opportunity to know for a fact, like stepping into the 9/11 museum and feeling that full effect, and then, you know, you're on vacation in Canada somewhere, and all of a sudden you step into a place and feel that same, you can say to the people around that might know, be like, did anything tragic here happen? And they might say, yeah, as a matter of fact, 100 years ago, this is a scene of a massacre. You know, you don't know, but you'll feel it. So real brief, I don't know why I know this feeling really, but I was going to a reading in Woodbridge, New Jersey several years ago. And as I've not really been to this part of that New Jersey before. As I'm driving to this woman's house, I kept hearing a clutter of voices. And then I saw people wandering, spirits just wandering everywhere. And they were injured and they were like kind of beat up looking. I was like, and they were kind of gray. So I knew they were old. I was like, man, what happened here? And I was like, what? Maybe there was like a big riot here back in the day or something. People were like, oh, I don't know. So when I got to their house, I explained it to them. And she was like, oh, she's like, yeah, back in the 40s, there was a huge train derailment right down the road the way you came in. And a bunch of people passed away. It was like one of the largest deadly train crashes in U.S. history. And I think what I was picking up was these people who were walking around and kind of lost. So that part of town, that part of New Jersey is very active. And I think part of it is these souls that are wandering. So there, and I just felt it. I saw it. I experienced it. And I was like, okay, so now I know what to look for the next time I see it. I wish I could stay and talk a little bit longer. For last night, for everybody's watching, I apologize. I couldn't come live. I had my daughter, for anybody who doesn't know, has really bad ADHD. And she freaks out pretty hard sometimes. And I had to help Shelly assist her, get her to bed. That's always very important. So we're going to do Friday night. I'm off of work. So we're going to do Friday night spirit-led mediumship readings for everybody. And it'll be a highest gifter night. So Friday, if you are trying to get a reading with me, we're going to do our highest gifter night on Friday. Okay. For everybody for tomorrow, though, remember tomorrow night for subscribers only, that's all of you. We're going to do spirit-led mediumship readings tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Okay. Tomorrow's Thursday. So every Wednesday is class. More of this if you want it. And Thursday, we're going to be doing spirit-led mediumship reading for subscribers. Friday will be for everybody. And then other stuff we're going to do besides multi-guest for anybody who's watching here. We're going to be doing, since you guys are my favorite, you're my subscribers, I'll tell you what we're doing. TikTok is, if you don't know, this is really heavy on battling, which is where you've seen me come live in the box and somebody else shows up and we battle. And most of the time we don't know the other person. So what I've decided to do in order to keep TikTok people happy and also do something fun with you is if you want to battle me, let's not consider this battling. Let's just say if you want to come up in the box with me, be really silly, have fun, have people throw gifts at you, tap the screen and share and all that kind of stuff and be a part of the live. We're going to be doing that as well. Just do me a favor in the Discord, make sure you go into the want deal point in the right direction. There's a box for it. Sign up for it. Let me know. And once a week, I'll be doing that. Once I have it'll probably be this week, like on a Saturday. And then we'll move forward from there, okay? Pet night, when we hit 1,500 or 1,600 subscribers. So we're at 1465. So another 135 subscribers, and I'll do a pet night, which is really easy to get to if you guys help me amp it up when we're live for everybody. At one point, we were carrying 2,000 subscribers around here, so I know we can do it. All right, but that's it. And I got to go to work. Otherwise, I'd hang out with you a little bit longer. But I hope that everybody enjoys this. I hope everybody gets something out of this, and I hope that you enjoy going live here. Even if you're not showing your face, I like hearing your voices and connecting with you. That helps me. And remember, be brave. You don't have to show your face. Just talk to me. And if you have a question, chances are there's 1,500 other people who want to ask the same questions. All right. So that's what we're doing. All right. Anyways, I got to go. It's 10:04. I have to get dressed in my seat in 26 minutes, which you guys should see me. I look like I'm fast.
Stay safe.
Scotty.
Thank
Be
you.
safe,
Have a
buddy.
good night.
Have a good night. If you requested and I didn't get to you, put it in the live requesting in Discord, and next time I'll take you first. Okay? That way it's all fair. All right? Okay, everybody. I'll talk to you later. Thanks again, everyone. Thank you. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate it.